Hey there, it's Dusty with yet another Reddit story for you. This one is actually, am I the astronaut for physically removing a 4-year-old niece from my newborn? I, 25 female, and my husband, 28 male, were visiting my in-laws the other night. It was the first time our new baby, 4 weeks, could be around his cousins, 2 male and 4 female. The 2-year-old does not pay him any mind. However, the 4-year-old loves babies. Prior to the baby being born, we had decided as a couple it would be best for children not to touch our new baby as we are going into winter. This was mostly for my niece and nephew as they are the only kids in our life and they are in daycare and constantly sick. Niece is a terribly behaved child. I don't believe her parents parent her, but I told my husband that we could go around to see how it went since he was optimistic. Okay, time out. This is their first child, obviously. Okay, this is OP. OP and partner's first child for sure. Okay. Having a new baby is scary, right? You want to keep your kids from getting bugs. I understand. It sounds dangerously judgy so far though. When we got there, we informed mother-in-law that we would not want the kids to touch the baby, and she said okay, she would help with that. Later in the evening, the kids came in from trick-or-treating, and our baby was awake, so we had him on the blanket on the couch. Niece came right up and was in his face. We were saying, this is your cousin. This is your baby cousin, but please don't touch him. She kept putting her hands on him, and people would say, don't touch him, but she would say, no, I can. Or she would stop touching him and bring her face 2 inches from his. We would gently remove her hands or push her chin up while saying nicely, please don't touch him, over and over. We would gently remove her hands. Okay, so they were playing ninja defense against a 4-year-old. Her mom called her over and explained germs to her, but she did not care and came right back to being in his face. That was about the extent of what her parents did to try to help the situation, other than saying, don't touch him from afar. After a few minutes of this, I told my husband I was uncomfortable, and he picked the baby up and walked away. Then the baby was being changed on the floor, and after father-in-law was looking at and playing with him, niece goes up and starts touching his head. Husband is behind her and says her name sternly, no, don't do that, and picks her up. Immediately after this, sister-in-law starts screaming at us, saying, how are you guys going to hype up a baby and expect her not to be close to him? We hadn't that night just told her other nights that she was getting a cousin. Okay, so that was her explanation. And then sister-in-law says this also, we're going to have to visit at separate times. My husband responded, nobody was doing anything about the situation, and she kept screaming, she's 4. How do you expect her to understand? She's 4. She doesn't understand boundaries. She can't do anything since she's 4. Mother-in-law also backed up sister-in-law and said to husband, don't be mean to niece's name. Now we are confused. Husband did not yell at niece or hurt her, just didn't speak so gently and picked her up. To us, we did not see his actions as mean and are wholly confused. Also, aside from her mother explaining germs, nobody was helping the situation or doing anything to help niece listen. We believe the mom screaming after was worse for the child than what we did. Okay, we're getting into a text exchange with them later on. Before we get into that though, instead of what's the niece's name? We don't know. Julie. What? Julie, no. Instead of picking her up, and to a 4-year-old kid, that'd be an experience, right? Why do that instead of just being like, here, my baby, removed from situation? Why? The 4-year-old kid's not going to listen. The 4-year-old kid doesn't understand your fears, doesn't understand how you've put like a psychological bubble around your child. A 4-year-old doesn't understand that, and expecting a 4-year-old to abide by the rules that you instituted 5 minutes ago is not reasonable. However, for you as a grown-ass person to remove the thing you're worried about from the threat of the situation, it's pretty reasonable. I do not understand. I can't control other people's kids, but I can take care of my own, Lady Rio. Exactly. And jumping in and deciding you were going to do your own version of parenting for your niece, which was to be stern and pick her up and physically remove her from a situation, screams rookie. They don't know what the hell they're getting into. These are the texts exchanged after. Me, hi there, I feel badly for the way things went down last night. I don't want there to be any hard feelings. I do feel strongly about not having kids in my baby's face this winter since it's not worth the risk for me personally to deal with a sick baby. You didn't help yourself with that line, Opie. I'm sure we could have communicated that expectation clearer beforehand. If staying away from him is something you don't feel is within niece's capabilities right now, we can visit with people at separate times and we are okay with that. I just really hope to not have hard feelings about it either way. I know how tricky it is. OP, your worldview on the capabilities of 4-year-olds is gonna be shattered whenever your kid turns 4. Just saying. Sister-in-law, hi, I don't like how things went down either. I want to start by saying I understand not wanting your newborn to get sick. I never once disagreed with that. I was doing my best to help teach her to understand you didn't want her close to him, but I do not expect her to fully understand that concept in less than an hour, especially because she has always been able to hold and be close to every other baby in her life. I'm not saying that she should be able to hold your baby. That is your boundary to set. Just simply pointing out that her normal when it comes to babies. I do, however, do not understand why you guys think it is acceptable to touch or talk to someone else's 4-year-old child that way. There have been multiple instances in the past where I have been frustrated about something similar, but not quite as escalated as the other night situation with you guys and her. I feel as if you both easily forget that she's still a 4-year-old and she's still learning boundaries and everything else in the world. I have let most of them go without saying anything because I don't want hard feelings or drama, but I feel like now's the time to speak up about that. So with all of that said, I don't feel comfortable putting my niece in the situation of being treated that way again if she does falter in what I teach her about your boundaries with your baby. It is probably best that we visit at different times. So are husband and I the crazy ones in this situation? Okay, before we dive into the edit on this, come on up. Come on up.
I do want to clarify something. The diaper change was over at this point. I think it said that was over, and the father-in-law was in the floor playing with the baby, talking to it, whatever they're doing. And I think I can speak for both of us when I say that if we have boundaries for our child and we don't want our child to be around germs unnecessarily, then we would stay home. And I think that's the whole thing that makes sense in this story. If you are going to set boundaries and you know that kids are going to be present, but you don't want kids around your baby, you either hold your baby the entire time or you stay home. Like, that's it. And we made those choices. We stayed home. And I stayed
home a lot. That's when we became cave dwelling people. That's
if I want a boundary that I'm going to use to protect my children, then that's on me to enforce that boundary. It is not on me to reprimand other children. And I think OP is downplaying what her husband did, because even the mother-in-law, who was on their side in the beginning and was like, I'll do what I can to help with this, was like, you should not talk to her that way.
Yep.
And I don't care who you are or what your beliefs are, no parent is going to like watching their child be reprimanded by someone else over something. Like, I think, and they said like the baby was on the couch and then the baby was on the floor. If you don't want kids around your baby, hold your freaking baby. Like, that is the bottom line. That is it. Like, if I don't want something to happen to my child that's going to cross my boundary, then my child is in my arms. My child is on my chest in a baby carrier. And then it's out of reach of a 4-year-old. They have to do stuff as a parent. Like, you can't go to somebody else's home and expect it to be catered to you in every single possible way. I would never go to either one of our parents' house and expect this. I would just wear the baby or hold the baby or whatever that looks like. But I am not going to reprimand somebody else's 4-year-old. Like, I would just remove my child, my responsibility, remove my child from that situation.
And expecting that 4-year-old to understand the boundaries that have been created in less than an hour is about like expecting their 4-week-old baby to be able to speak up and say, no, don't touch me. Right? There's no, it's an unreasonable expectation. And their expectation here is because she didn't understand that the parents should have been there playing defense the whole time, like sister-in-law and brother-in-law, instead of them having to. But
right.
The easy solution here is the one that they're ignoring, and that doesn't make sense. It's like they didn't want to just bring their boundaries with them as they traveled from place to place. They wanted people who didn't respect those geographic boundaries that they bring into other people's homes, people who encroach upon those to get punished.
Yeah.
Like, I don't.
Yeah, and if
the whole world doesn't give a shit about your rules. I'm sorry.
Yeah. If you want to reprimand other people's children, then you have to understand that you're agreeing to the consequences of that. And here's what happened here. Like, you're putting drama in a family that doesn't need to be there. When it's your job is not to parent somebody else's children. Your job is to parent your child. And if you can't do that safely, you remove your child from the situation. You sure as hell don't yell at your niece like this. And I still think this is being downplayed, because it would take a lot for a mom. Like, when your child is being yelled at as a mom, like, mama bear, instant. You're going to get pissed. You're going to get upset. Like, that's That's I will stand by that 150%. You watching somebody else yell at Navy, she's our youngest, around this age.
Yeah, it would not go well.
It would not go well.
It would not go well.
Right.
Now there is a version of this where like you're at a park and there's a kid there whose parents aren't even around, or have just checked out and give zero shits, and this kid is being just an absolute little shit, and you're like, hey, stop. Like
You don't
verbally
yell at them and
reprimanding
touch
them.
them.
And no, you sure
Yeah.
as shit don't touch them, but like telling a kid to stop being a shithead is one thing.
Right. And you don't yell. Like
No. Yeah.
I don't know. Okay, you can read the last part.
Okay, yeah, I forgot we have an edit. We have an edit on this. Okay, here is the edit. Wow, I love watching AITA videos, but never expected mine to blow up this much. I was just hoping for 10 comments, but this is a little bit much since I just want to read everything. Thoughts after 700 comments. I could see how my husband and I could have handled the situation better by removing the infant sooner. I wish we would have done this, but we didn't, and we will be better equipped with this knowledge and ideas of what to do in the future. However, this is not what happened, and nothing can be done about that. To all those saying they'd act like the other side of the story or believe I downplayed his actions, I actually tried to over-exaggerate what I saw to get unbiased opinions. Said no one ever. To all those also saying we shouldn't have gone at all for various reasons, you're also right. They are a close family, and before the baby, everyone saw each other once a week. The only people the baby has really met are our immediate families, so trust me, we're not flaunting him to the world. Husband really wanted to go. I did not, or strongly wanted to baby wear, but I wanted to respect him, and also knew it would blow up with his family if we did not bring the baby around. I decided that it was worth going to see how things went, and to see if we could continue to be around everybody at later winter events. Obviously not. That was selfish of me to put a newborn at risk for husband and his family's happiness and to prove a point. But I hope people know we've learned a lot from this about how we'd like to improve what we do moving forward and are just dumb first-time parents in so many aspects. Well, I mean, I agree with that. And also, I think you revealed something you didn't mean to here at the very end, and that was that you put your baby at risk to prove a point. If you're saying you did this to prove a point, then you intentionally reinforced these boundaries around your baby and created a you created a Kobayashi Maru to prove a point to your husband because you didn't want to go and he did. You were proving a point to him that it was too risky. Now he's the one who took the action that set everything into a clustercluck, but you created this Kobayashi Maru to prove a point. Ugh, that's pretty gross. Am I the asking out for physically removing my 4-year-old niece from my newborn? Yeah. Okay. Candy Thunder's at an ESH here.
What are you at?
I agree with you, but after learning what we just learned at the very end of the story, I feel like OP sucks the most out of anybody for creating this failed experiment intentionally to prove a point. That sucks. You definitely shouldn't do that. I understand it was in your mind, it was the right thing to do because it was for the long-term safety of your baby. You're like, oh, look, if we just risk it this one time, then we won't have to go for Thanksgiving or Christmas and all the other winter shit. So if I just sabotage this thing now, we'll be safer throughout the winter months.